Welcome into the afternoon college football betting update with Big Man on Campus and myself, Drew Martin. It is October 21st, 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll be going over the night slate and then pretty much going over today's college football betting action. Anything you guys want to talk about, feel free to chime in the live chat. Hit us up on Twitter. Use the hashtag AskSBR. But let's bring him in. Big Man on Campus. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. How you feeling today, buddy?
I'm doing okay. Drew, yourself?
Doing good. You know, some games are doing better than others today. We were just talking before, but I got Buffalo back to third string quarterback on the road, and it's I'm learning my lesson here. But it sounds like you were on Miami of Ohio, so hats off to you.
Yeah, I bet small in Miami of Ohio. Nothing to write home about, but the play that really matters for me right now is just not looking too good. I mean, a lot of points being left on the field in this Navy Central Florida game. I have the over in this game. A lot of points being left out there. So hope for a big second half, maybe an overtime game to get us up and over. Because I had a play earlier. I mean, on paper it looked great, but it had no chance over in the Oklahoma State game. So important play here, but can't win every week, Drew. You got to kind of just keep going and see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, this is I guess we'll hit on the night slate, the late night slate first, and then get into really any topic college football betting on today or next week that we need to. But let's start off with 4-11, 4-12. We got the Colorado Buffaloes heading to Pullman, Washington, and take on Washington State Cougars. Washington State's in bounce back mode, big man. We got -10 the number. Looks like 56 is what the total opened at. Bet down to 52. You involved in this one at all?
I'm not involved with it at this point. Will I get involved with it? Not exactly sure. I mean, Washington State obviously coming in off that big loss, but they're back at home in this matchup, which is important for them. They're good in Pullman. That's where they play well at. But here's the problem that I have with Washington State, Drew, is their pass protection is terrible. They have a poor offensive line, among the worst in the country. When you have Luke Falk, who is not a mobile quarterback as it is, when you're giving up a ton of pressure, that's not going to be good. It's going to end up like it did last week. They've allowed 32 sacks as a whole. It's just not something that I'm looking to really get involved with right now. I love Washington State, but until they solve their pass protection issues, it's hard to get involved. But off a loss, do I think they win this game? Yeah, but I get the feeling this is a late night after dark, kind of back and forth affair. Colorado does have some playmakers. I'm a big Philip Lindsay fan. But again, their quarterback's another guy I have trouble trusting. So I think it's too many points. I don't really like Washington State laying big numbers, but they are off a loss. It's a tough game. I don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah, I agree with you. This one's a tricky one. I mean, I do like the Cougars in bounce back mode, and I'm not a big fan of what Colorado's doing, especially this year. You look back their last two games, Arizona gave them all kinds of issues, but you're right. The profile's a little bit different. I mean, Arizona has more of the mobile quarterback, and even Oregon State, putting up 33 points against them. I didn't like that matchup either. So Colorado defensively, I think, has had a big drop off of recent.
I would almost, and that's a good point. But plus, their former coordinator Jim Leavitt left. He went to Oregon. That's, I think, made a difference. I mean, they're not as ball hawking as they were. They're not as high level on that side of the ball. And look, I think they're a little bit more explosive on offense. I kind of like the over, honestly, at 52. It's a little bit more to work with there. I've learned over the last couple of days, a couple of my plays here, I'm betting totals in the mid-60s, and they look really good, but you get a quarter of no scoring, and you're in real trouble. 52 is a little bit more in striking distance, especially, Drew, with a team in Washington State who I know last year they tried to enact running the football a lot more, but you look at this year, they're one of the worst run offenses in the country. They don't run the ball at all. They've kind of went back to that typical Pac-12 air raid offense. They're actually dead last year in rush yards per game at just 74 a game. So Mike Leach is back to his old tricks, throwing the football. If they can protect Luke Falk, they're going to win and cover a lot of games. The problem is they're not really dependable to do that.
Yeah, no disagreement here, man. But let's move on to 4-13, 4-14. We got Fresno State versus another team in bounce back mode, SDSU, San Diego State Aztecs. Looks like the Aztecs are laying -7. You can find a couple -7.5. So if you're looking to bet on Fresno, there is that extra hook out there. Just use SBR odds to find the best book right now. It looks like 50 is about the total pretty much across the board, some 49.5s. Have you bet this one yet? I know you're involved in Mountain West play a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was a listener on your the closing line last night that was he wanted to bet me that Fresno State would beat San Diego State. I haven't heard from him lately. I don't know if he's interested in that bet or not. If he's interested, I am. I'll gladly play with him. But yeah, this is a huge game, Drew, for Fresno State football. They've won 3 in a row, but the question is, are they valid? I mean, they haven't really beaten anything. This is a big test going on the road. Fresno's played really well. They're looking towards a bowl game. Defensively, they've been great. And the concern for San Diego State in this game will be, can they get their run game going against a great run defense? Fresno State, 14th overall, 2.93 yards allowed per carry. This is a big game against a team, Drew, with not a ton of experience at big game level, against a team that thrives in this conference in big game levels. I'm going to go ahead and think that Rashad Penny will show why he's a Heisman Trophy candidate tonight. They're off a loss. They're at home here. I'm not one to believe in Fresno State, just not ready to believe them yet. I think they're a decent little team. I'd love to see them go bowling. Those fans deserve that. They haven't had much for many years since Derek Carr left. For me, I would lean with the Aztecs. I think this is a pretty decent price on this team. At the end of the day, Rashad Penny will figure it out. That defense will be good enough. I think they just impose their will on a little bit lesser of a team than they are.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as far as like the afternoon betting update, I'm cool making this the play for the show. I mean, SDSU, I like him here, especially -7. So make sure to shop around to get that extra hook. I just think Fresno State, when you look at their profile, their last 3 games, Nevada, San Jose State, even New Mexico, who they put it on. But we both know, I know you know a lot about the kind of option offenses, and if you can stop it, you can stop it. If you can't, you don't usually learn to stop it throughout the game. So that 38-0, I think, is a little bit misleading, especially when you look at them having to step up in class. I'm talking about the Fresno State Bulldogs. They've really had trouble. Alabama, Washington, maybe this isn't that same level, but SDSU is one of the more powerful teams in this conference, if not the most powerful team.
And they've owned, Drew, this conference against the spread for so many years. I mean, they've just dominated teams overall. And, coming off your first loss, I mean, you got it out of the way. It's going to happen. Now it's time that you keep it kind of going in this conference. I mean, every game's important. And this is a big game. Fresno will be ready for it. I just don't know that I could see them going in there and beating San Diego State. That would be impressive if they can do it, but I would lay the points here if I had to.
Yeah, I absolutely would too. And you can get 7s almost across the board. Make sure you're not laying 7.5 though, because there's a lot of 7s out there. So we're both liking SDSU in this one. We got one more nightcap here. It looks like a threesome of 10 p.m. Eastern kickoffs or later. Wyoming, Boise State staying in the Mountain West. We got Wyoming. Looks like almost it's pretty much 14.5 across the board. Boise State's laying the -14.5. We got 113.5 out there. 44.5 the total. You betting this one, big man?
No. And I mean, how long are we going to wait for Josh Allen to look good? I mean, he hasn't done it yet. I mean, it's not going to get easier here. Boise State's got a good defense, but so does Wyoming. I kind of understand the total here. This is just kind of out of my element. I'm not really high on laying. I mean, it was a nice win for Boise State, but do I want to lay more than 2 touchdowns with them? I'm not really sure. For me, it's a pass, but Drew, I do like a good threesome. So I'll be looking forward to these games a little bit later.
Good threesome, man. You seem like an expert in threesomes, so I'll take your word for it.
I've had one of many, Drew.
For real?
In my younger years.
Good for you, man. I guess we can leave that for another show. Get into
maybe
those, but
sure.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. If I'm playing, I'm laying. I don't like Wyoming this year. I pretty much think that they've been overvalued all year long. I agree with you. I think Allen, he was reading the press clippings a little too much and maybe a little banged up. But if I'm playing this one, it's on Boise State for me. But where do you want to go from here? We hit the night slate.
Yeah.
Talk about anything on the board.
Yeah. I'm really up wherever you want to go. I think there's interesting games. I know we talked about you and I on the Bet Buffet, the Southern Miss La Tech game. Now you're starting to see La Tech as a dog here, and kind of where I think the line should be. I think this game was just, unfortunately, drew a mistake by the books. I think they put this line at the wrong opener. I didn't really understand the 4 or 3 or wherever it opened. Didn't make a lot of sense to me. I think you're starting to see now they just put out a bad number in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I know you liked the Bulldogs. You also liked USF coming up too on the Bet Buffet.
Yeah.
That is something everybody can check out on SBR Picks right now. I know you've had a great season. Also, it looks like 1-1 going into the night slate. Right side winner on Ohio. Pick the right side with Army, but I don't think they covered the number.
I got to talk about that game for 1 minute here. So Army goes in and scores to take it into overtime. I mean, I got a great puncher's chance there with who would have thought Drew Army would throw their way into overtime, 70-yard drive. It came up a little short on that one. So Temple not only loses, the team I kind of root for, but Army doesn't cover. So, tough one there. But, hey, Ohio, rolled, so we'll take that.
Absolutely. And something to take away from that Ohio game, you laid the 19. Absolutely right side winner. They were the stronger team by way more than 3 touchdowns. Are you taking anything from this game? Do you think Kent State might be fade material going out? I know their defense has been pretty good, but as they fade away, obviously into thinking about next year and this defense, can they keep that up?
The problem, Drew's not really ever defense with Kent State. I mean, they didn't play well today defensively, but the problem with them is they just don't ever have an offensive identity. I mean, what is their identity on offense, Drew? I mean, can you tell me? Because most teams have one.
It was that quarterback they had that would run around back there. He's kind of a good athlete.
Yeah, Nate Holley, but he got injured. Yeah. So it's like, but even him, like, this team has never been a team that can move the football. I mean, they've for many years just been this stagnant group that, I mean, every year they put up 15 points a game. I mean, it's just not good enough. The unfortunate part about the MAC for them is the MAC is getting a lot better offensively. You're seeing a lot more higher scoring games. You're seeing Toledo's and teams like Ohio. This is a big win for Ohio. Really nice hand ride type of game, a game that they needed to have. They needed to go in and pound this kind of team. They got some tough games coming up. It was nice to see them go in and get a nice, easy winner here. It wasn't easy early, Drew. I mean, end of the first quarter, it was 3-0 Kent State. So a big third quarter here, spurned it. And, this is one of those games you dream about, really.
Yeah, I'm just interested because I used to bet, or a couple times I bet Kent State under the total, but I am kind of worried about their defense kind of sticking up to – because they have had a pretty good defense, but you're right, their offense sucks. Just kind of looking for things
Joe
to take out of it.
Totally right. 3 and out is their identity. That's totally true. That's exactly right.
We got Shun in here asking your opinion on Notre Dame. What are you thinking about that game?
I was on with Gabe Morency last night. We chatted about this game for a good amount of time. Huge game for both these teams. I mean, USC's 11th in the country. They have that one blemish on their record up in Pullman. Notre Dame a blemish as well, but they have their chance to redeem themselves here. Notre Dame in that independent role, a tough schedule. This is a tough game. They're going to have a lot of tough games all year. I like them at home here. I think they're the better football team overall. I think they have a pretty solid defense. They have a high-level offensive line, a good running back in Adams. I'm just wondering, is Brandon Wimbush ready for a game like this? Freshman quarterback, has had some injuries. Is he ready to take his team to win a game like this? I get a weird feeling, Drew. It's a close game. It's within 3 or 4 points, but it's a stay-away game for me. I kind of like the under. I think it's a little too high. We've seen a lot of these primetime games kind of hang in the high 20s. I.e. that Texas USC game. You kind of have a lot of punts, teams feeling each other out. Notre Dame will get the calls. As a Catholic growing up, Drew, as someone that knows all about Notre Dame, I've always learned in my years of gambling, down in South Philly, don't bet against Notre Dame at home. It's just kind of something I don't do. For me, it's a Notre Dame or a pass. It'll probably just be a pass because I'll be a little bit more interested in that Michigan-Penn State game anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Notre Dame at home is not something I'm interested in fading either. But especially now it's up to -4. Really like to have it at -3 or less if I'm betting in this one. And you bring up the total thing. Last week I was on USC Utah under, and I actually think it played out under. It's just every time that they scored touchdowns, not field goals, and that happens. That's why money management's a key. So I don't disagree with you on the under as well.
Yeah, that was a tough beat. I had the under in the bet buffet. It was a tough one. Kind of a late touchdown there. And Drew, I got to tell you, I know people want to anoint Sam Darnold as this big time quarterback, but I got to tell you, I mean, he's been pretty underperforming to me this year. I mean, he's thrown a lot of interceptions. Offensive line hasn't been very good. This is going to be a really tough game for them. And Kelly's a way better coach than Clay Helton is. So, he might not always – he's kind of a scummy guy, but overall he's a hell of a coach over our boy Clay Helton.
Is he a scummy guy? I mean, I know he gets a lot of bad camera looks. But...
No, he's definitely a scummy guy. There's been a lot of shit on his watch that but look, Drew, I've made the case before, and I'll say it again. Most college coaches in both sports are scumbags. And that's my problem. A coach is someone that leads men. He leads men's lives. He teaches people how to live a better life and be good in school and off the field and that kind of thing. Coaches, unfortunately, too much are just, what can this person do for me? How can I win? And we'll rub stuff under the carpet. But, yeah, I'm not a big Brian Kelly guy. He's definitely been in the news. Definitely want to look him up for sure.
Yeah, one of those things, college football coaches and basketball, it's like NASCAR. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. So I don't know, man. We got Sal asking, did you go with either the over in the UTSA versus Rice game or UTSA -20? Any opinion on that game?
No. It's amazing. Rice is still playing football. This seems like Rice just never wins, doesn't it, Drew? I mean, it's just you got to wonder how long David Bailiff remains there. I mean, I would have fired him over the offseason, but for whatever reason, they kept him around. UTSA is off of 2 losses, but the 2 pretty good football teams, Southern Miss and North Texas, are pretty good. For UTSA coming up, this is really the time to get some footing in this conference. You look at the next 4 games for the Roadrunners. You got Rice, UTEP, FIU, and UAB. 2 of those games are at home. So you have the ability after this little stretch to make a bowl game and to really, Drew, there was a time last year, and I remember this point for La Tech, not a similar team, but to me a profile that is similar. La Tech had a time in their schedule where they had 4 or 5 straight against Rice, UTEP, FIU. I look for the Roadrunners to start something tonight, really kind of obliterate Rice, team just down south from them, and really kind of get going, win 3 or 4 in a row here. Drew, we're getting fast and furious touchdowns here down in Annapolis. 2 big touchdowns in 30 seconds. How about this, Drew? A 79-yard touchdown and a 78-yard touchdown. How about that? Come on.
I don't know, man. I'm on the other side. Let's go Knights.
Oh, well, I have the over. So I'm actually on Navy plus the points as well. I took them on my own. So I'm rooting for Navy, Drew, as you know. But yeah, we have a couple big touchdowns here. Let's keep it going. But yeah, overall, I think Sal makes a good point here. I think this might be a good spot to back UTSA off 2 losses. Kind of a good spot in their schedule. It might be a sneaky good play.
Yeah, no. Are you saying on UTSA or?
Yeah, I kind of like this number at what do we got here? Let me get it in front of me. You got the lines in front of you, Drew?
Yeah, -20.
Yeah, I like that number. I mean, the question you have to ask yourself is, are you ready to lay big points with UTSA? And you look at their schedule, Drew, this year. Hasn't been easy. I mean, at Baylor, second game of the year, you beat Southern. Texas State, they killed. Southern Miss, North Texas. You've had some tough games there, but you look at the 2 against subpar opponents, they've crushed. Southern, they beat 51-17. Texas State, 44-13. Rice, Drew, is a bad, bad, bad team. This might be one of the better plays here. Good call, Sal.
Yeah, I like it too, man. I'm kind of thinking, there's a lot of games. I'm wondering how this slipped under my radar because usually I wouldn't mind laying this number with.
Well, I think them as a football team, UTSA, they kind of just they're not a sexy football team really, but overall they've played pretty well. Sturm's a good quarterback, and you look, Drew, at Rice. I mean, the games they played. I mean, 49-12 to Army, 42-10 to Pittsburgh, 38-3 to a pretty bad Houston team. Yeah, I mean, you talk about plays of the day to give out here kind of a joint play. I kind of like this game as I keep looking at it. It's a good bounce back spot. Great call, Sal. Really good.
Yeah,
call.
I like that. Thank you, Sal. I'm going to be on UTSA. Let's make that the play too. We can go.
Yeah, good call by Joe. I think we both like the under 3.5 for Rice. Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at a team like Rice, you have to ask yourself, I mean, is there a guaranteed win on the schedule? I mean, you could say it was UTEP, they beat them, but other than that, I mean, I just didn't see 4 wins here. But yeah, I got to admit, this might go into my my plays tonight.
Yeah, going down their schedule, I mean, the only one I could maybe see is Old Dominion. Outside of that, they're not going to win a game. And UTSA, their next 4, I bet you they sweep the board. Rice, UTEP, FIU, UAB, until Marshall and Louisiana Tech. I don't think they'll.
Yeah, they're going to need to. They're going to go bowling again, which, I mean, Frank Wilson's done I think he's still their coach. He's done a great job here at UTSA overall. Really done a good job recruiting. That's not the easiest place to recruit. The Larry Coker era was a mess there. I mean, they made a bowl last year. They were in that one 2 years ago, I think it was. They've done a good job. This is a big spot in their schedule.
Big man, we got CMAC and Rayant asking about UAB, the UAB Blazers. And also want to say, hey, guys, thanks for watching. If you could give us a thumbs up, a like, that helps us out a lot. But any opinion on the UAB Blazers today, big man?
Yeah, how about UAB? Bill Clark and company. They've played pretty well, actually. I mean, 4 wins, Drew. How about that? UAB, 4 wins. And they even lost to Ball State. They could have 5 wins. They're beating some decent programs. I mean, Middle Tennessee, La Tech, Coastal Carolina. Impressive stuff. Charlotte, Drew, is I mean, we could make the case they might be the worst team in the country. Would you agree with that, Drew, maybe?
Yeah, especially their best linebacker just went down last week with a knee injury.
Yeah.
And, with teams like Charlotte, when their best player goes down, watch out because they don't always have depth. So, yeah, I mean, we're talking about Rice here. Who else did we talk about?
Rice and Charlotte, I mean, are pretty awful. Kansas is really bad. I will say East Carolina is bad. I'll say this. I mean, here's what I look at as a sports bettor. Am I willing to lay 8.5 points? That means you're betting on the UAB Blazers to win by double digits. It's not really something I'm looking to do personally. I mean, my money's important to me. I'm sure it is to many of you as well. To lay points and hope UAB wins by double digits, to me, it's not a proposition I'm looking to get involved with. I think there are better games out there to get your money involved with. Is UAB a nice story? Yeah, sure they are. They have, 4 wins? And I do want to look at their schedule here. I mean, you got Southern Miss, you got Florida, you got UTSA coming up. These are important games against Charlotte. They go a long way in bowl decisions. Yeah, do they win? Yeah. Do I want to lay 8, 9? No. So I'll pass. Not saying they won't cover. I just don't want to do it.
All right, what about the argument MTSU, Louisiana Tech, and at North Texas, pretty much all toss-up games, so competitive in all 3 of those games, covering all 3 of those games, now going and playing Charlotte. It's obviously a step down in class. If they bring their A or even B game, I think they really
but I do think that the wins over, which I'm not going to take away, they're nice wins, but this might be one of the more watered down conferences. I mean, this conference is bad this year. There's no team that's really that good. It's not the yesteryear of Conference USA where West Kentucky's rolling, La Tech's rolling, MTSU's rolling. I mean, all these teams have injury problems, new graduation, new players coming in from graduation. And look, they hung with, I mean, you got something that you're not wrong. I mean, they hung in those games. They play with momentum, bad team. Should they cover? Sure. I'm just not willing to put my money on them. That's really it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with Conference USA. I mean, you know, Marshall, FAU, they're nice stories, but you know, they should not be winning this conference. And this year, they got a legitimate shot at doing it.
Well, actually, one of my premium plays this weekend was Marshall last night, and I really was trying to, you know, to let people know. I mean, we talked about it Friday. You have to look at right around this time, Drew. Army was an interesting proposition today. You got to start looking at teams that are coming off bad years that are bowl eligible with wins. Last night, Marshall was bowl eligible with a win. For many, that's not important, but for a team that was 3-9 last year that struggled mightily, that was a huge game, especially against a team like Middle Tennessee, who's hobbled right now. You got to look for those little things, those little situations, and you kind of have one here in a way. This isn't a bowl eligibility game, but you get the 5 wins, you know, with 5 or 6 games to play. You're in the driver's seat. UAB looks pretty good here. I just don't want to lay 8 points with them.
Hey, good call on that Marshall game. What did you see from a gameplay standpoint? Because I watched that game. I almost got there as well, but I pumped the brakes because I saw MTSU, their backup quarterback, kind of coming on of late in the last couple weeks. Yeah. But you could just see that Marshall, their defensive line, their front seven in general, was just taking it to MTSU, the stronger, bigger team. Did you see that going in, or was this strictly you liked the bowl eligibility?
Well, the bowl eligibility stuff was great. Of course, that's important. Is that why I thought they'd win? No. I saw Urzua, who, you were right, you're right, has played better. A lot of yards. But you know the big thing that matters for John Urzua? They aren't winning football games with him. He's doing things that are screwing up the gameplay. Richie James has been in and out of the lineup. He just doesn't have a lot of cohesion. And Drew, that's so important with college quarterbacks and receivers. I've seen it in Utah. Darren Carrington is a totally different receiver with Troy Williams on the field as opposed to Huntley. Same thing. Stockstill and Richie James have a cohesion. It's like Batman and Robin. It's like peanut butter and jelly. It's just a cohesion they don't have. Those two new guys don't have. You also look at the fact, Drew, of Marshall's defense has gotten a lot better. They are so different on the defensive side of the ball than they were a year or two ago. It's really impressive what Holliday's done there. He brought in some junior college players, some transfers, and he's really transformed that defense. You couple that with the bowl eligibility, the injury concerns, just the overall state of Middle Tennessee football. I thought Marshall, it was a really short price that I didn't understand.
Yeah, no, great call, man. And in betting Marshall and maybe even unders, at least the other team's team total unders against struggling offenses, I really like that matchup because Marshall's front seven just gets after it.
And I'll tell you what, you better watch out for Marshall football because they have a quarterback coming up through the wings after Chase Litton. He's a redshirt freshman. They're doing everything they can to prevent having to use him. This kid reminds me a ton. If he puts on a little bit of muscle and weight, you remember Rakeem Cato? He is really impressive from what I heard. So they're doing some good things down there in Virginia. They're going to be a good football team going forward. They bring some people back next year as well. Look out for Marshall. It might be back in the national perspective in a year or two.
Yeah, Marshall, absolutely bet on. Well, anything else, big man, before we close this out?
No, not really. Okay. There's a couple. I mean, we talked Southern Florida and Tulane, South Florida on the bet buffet. I definitely like that side. That's actually down to 10. So some punters coming in on Tulane, which is interesting. One other thing with interesting number here, Arizona lands some points on the road at Cal. Cal off a big win. Khalil Tate has been fantastic. Really impressive player. That's an interesting game. And then you got that Michigan game, which that number's plummeted. It's down to 7.5. It's actually, Drew, on my local, one of my South Philadelphia locals, it's down to 7. So sharp money's coming in on Michigan, which I think is the right play. I think there's a lot of little, wrinkles here that I just want to make aware to the listeners here, maybe that missed the show this morning that Peter and I did. Drew, there's some intangibles in this game that are important to mention. First of all, John O'Korn, the quarterback at Michigan, we can agree, Drew, that throughout his college career, he hasn't really had many big games. You would agree with that, right? I mean, he's had injuries, he's had transfers, he's sat out. He just really hasn't had much of a college career. This is a huge game for John O'Korn. This is a game for him as a man, as a football player. He hasn't had much to be happy about in his college career. It's just been murphed by, problems. He's from Huntington, Pennsylvania. It's not far away from State College. I'd expect him to really come out within this game with a lot of confidence. He hasn't had much in Michigan, but I still think he's a decent quarterback. Couple that with a good run game, with a very good defense, a huge game. What an atmosphere this is going to be up at Beaver Valley. I know I have friends of mine that are at this game tonight. I mean, I think the cheapest ticket to get in is like $300 in a 110,000 seat stadium. And one other thing, Drew, the kicking game might be important in this game. Low scoring, possibly defensive battle. Look at the kickers. Jim Harbaugh did a hell of a job. Now, I know we'll laugh at his tactics to get recruits, sleeping over at people's houses, things like that. He did do that to get their kicker they currently have. But this kicker they have now is fantastic. Penn State's a kicker, a lot of trouble. From 30 or more yards, 2 for 8 for field goals from 30 yards or more. That's a concern in this game, I think. And for me, I think Michigan gets a season-defining win. I think Penn State is one of the more overrated number 2 teams I've ever seen.
You bring up John O'Korn, big man. So he's from around where you are?
He's not from where I am, but he's from Huntington, which is – I'm near Philadelphia. Huntington's more of in the middle of the state. It's actually famous for one of the state prisons is in Huntington. It's a small town. It's not far from Altoona, but it's right near State College. It's about 20, 30 minutes away. So for O'Korn, I mean, he's had a long career. I mean, he's went down to Houston, kind of got injured, lost his job to Greg Ward, who I don't knock. I mean, Greg Ward was a great player. He took advantage of a situation that he got. O'Korn kind of hung around, got to Michigan, sat on the bench there. He's gotten the opportunity, hasn't played particularly well, but I look back to that game against Purdue, and I saw a kid come in and really play well. I mean, he took advantage of the situation. They started scoring touchdowns instead of field goals. If Penn State or if Michigan scores touchdowns instead of field goals, they will cover this football game. It's all about, can they convert instead of scoring field goals? Can they do the little things? But yeah, O'Korn's in I think a really big spot for him.
Yeah, and he's a kid that's played big time football for a long time. Because I'm not sure. I was going to bring up some like high school recruiting, probably mischief there, because he also played at St. Thomas in Fort Lauderdale, which I know as well. So I'm it's kind of interesting to see how that happened. But that's something we'll probably.
He's had a long career, man. I mean, he seems like he's been around for like 10 years. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And he's been around. He's 22 years old at this point, so I mean, he's been around.
Hey, we got Junior asking you if you have any first half plays.
I'm not a big first half better, man. I'm more of a full game kind of guy. First half, I mean, I kind of looked at that South Florida first half, but it's a solid 7-ish, so it's a pass there for me. Yeah, I'm not a big first half player, bro. More or less the full game kind of guy.
Jeez, FAU's up 17-0 over North Texas. Missing that one.
Great start. They're playing well right now. Florida Atlantic. Nice turnaround. Tough start, but they're turning around a little bit.
You know any way to watch this Georgia Southern UMass game? I can't find a link. Doesn't matter.
Well, it may not be on TV. That's very possible. It's in UMass. I mean, I doubt. I think probably the only way would be watch it maybe locally. I don't know that it'd even be on a stream. It's interesting. It's not on ESPN3.
No.
No, I don't even think I noticed it on my streams. So I can't say I don't think there is one.
Yeah.
I would reach out to Donnie Wright's. I'm pretty sure he has a play on this game. He might know.
Okay. Well, we got Tim asking, what are the plays? I guess what we agreed on, SDSU -7, shop for the 7. There are a lot of 7s out there.
I like that UTSA game too. One of the listeners mentioned that's sounds like a pretty damn good play. I like that -20. Do you like over 54 or USF -10? I mentioned I like UCF. I think they really pull away. We don't have a call-in number, Tim. I've noticed you've asked that on several different shows. We don't have I don't have a call-in number. We used to have one, but I'm kind of trying to get one going again. But right now we don't have one. But maybe when we get one, we'll get you to call in. But yeah, as far as Safine on that one, I would go USF in that one.
Yeah, USF for pass for me as well. Yeah, we need to get this call-in line going. That would be fun. Get some guys.
Yeah, we kind of had a kind of a half of one on the old right side of late night on campus. Ole Miss, no opinion. TCU. I mean, all I'll say is I wouldn't take the points there. Put it that way. And then what was your other one there? Cal. Yeah, against Arizona. I don't have much opinion on that one either. I kind of just want to watch. Drew Auburn. Anything there?
Nah, no opinion.
If Austin Allen doesn't play, I kind of like Auburn there, honestly. But I think it's time for Brett Bielema to go. But Drew, thanks as always. Enjoy the games tonight, and good luck to all the listeners.
Yeah. Thank you, big man. And I guess we'll start keeping record keeping purposes for this show. We'll do UTSA -20, SDSU -7. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Tim, we'll try to get a call-in number for you. And big man, anything else before we shut it down?
No, everyone enjoy your Saturday evening, and got some good football. You got the World Series, not the World Series, the ALCS. Go Yankees! I'm a big Yankee fan, Drew. So I hope when we can close it out here and get to the World Series, and we'll look forward to NFL. Catch me tomorrow night with Gabe on the Betcast. And if you guys don't know, we do a live show during the games. Catch us tomorrow night for that. We'll be broadcasting the game live. Everyone have a great night.
Peace.